I'm Kelsey Carrier, and I have had the pleasure of acting as chair of our board of directors and president of the Glassworks Cooperative for the last 2 years. I'm super excited to have the opportunity tonight to bring you all up to speed on some of the incredible progress that we've made this year and to provide some insights on where Glassworks is going and growing from here. So for those of you who have been involved in the project for some time, you'll know that Glassworks started as all good ideas do, as a big dream compacted into a little seed of an idea that got planted here in Owen Sound in 2017. And there've been many steps in our progress to get to where we are today, but I feel like right now, like this moment tonight at our AGM is something really worth celebrating. And it really feels like a turning of a chapter for this project. So we're so excited to have you all here together. This project has grown and matured from a pipe dream into a project management piece with new partnerships growing that we're excited to share with you this evening, and new skills being brought to the project by our new board members as we're able to put into action our extraordinary vision for sustainable, affordable, community-focused housing. We've grown from wonderful intentions into action, both with the purchase of our land this year and our deepening Indigenous partnerships. And we've developed from what started really as a passion project held together by the dedication of volunteers and the contributions of all the committed Glassworks members to a project that investors see value in. So we're so honored to be at this turning point, and for all of the contributions from yourselves as members, believing in the project and standing behind it that have gotten us to this incredible turning point tonight. So lots more to come in with our annual report part of the evening, but I just wanted to start our annual general meeting tonight with a toast to all of you for believing in and supporting this incredible vision. So if you've brought yourself a tasty cup of tea or some other beverage that brings you joy, if you have your party horn handy that was sent out in the mail to all of the members, let's just take this moment to raise a glass, make a little noise to celebrate the success of a project destined to reshape how we live on the land in reciprocity, in cooperation, in collaboration, and in reconciliation with the land and with each other. So to Glassworks and all of you.
Yeah, cheers.
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 Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
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 So fun. Well, thank y'all so much. So with that, I just wanted to acknowledge one of our key accomplishments this year is hiring our first staff person. We're so excited to welcome you to Kate Mosher, and I'll pass the floor over to her to get us started this evening. And I will find that music to hush it up in the background. Over to you, Kate.
Great. And can you pull up the slides when you have a sec? The technical slides. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Mosher. If you have been on social media recently, you might notice that Glassworks has had a bit more presence, and that's some work that I've been doing. I am really excited to be here and work on this project and really dig in. I moved up to Owen Sound with my family in the spring of this year, so I'm trying to sit so the Glassworks logo is proper, and so we're new to the area and really excited to be here. And this project is just something that I am really just honored to be a part of, and hope that my skills in the things I have skills in will be helpful to it as well. So thanks, everyone. And in the future, when you email the join us at Glassworks email, I am on the other end. So this is me. Nice to meet all of you tonight. Title of Kate. My title is Sustainable Development Project Manager. Yeah. And I will be doing the background tech stuff. So if you have issues and you need help, you can just email me during the meeting and I will do my best to help you out. Okay.
Awesome. You ready for some technical consideration?
Yeah.
All right, screen share coming up.
Okay. Yeah, so just
forgive me.
Everyone's on mute, and if we just ask that you stay on mute unless you have a question or want to say something, but if I could ask that you put it in the chat during the formal part of our meeting, we will have time at the end for social time and questions and at the end. So if you can save it till then, that's great. If you have a question that's like pertinent to what we're talking about, go ahead and pop it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it in the moment. You can decide about video, what you want to do about that. You can stay on or have it off, whatever you prefer. Totally get needing to take our faces off screens, especially in the evening, depending on how you spend your day. We will be recording this meeting. It's recording right now, and we'll be making it available online for folks to refer to in the future. So if you missed something or you need to pop off earlier, you want to share it with a friend, you will be able to do that. I already said, if you experience any tech issues, go ahead and email me. And we are going to be doing some voting during this meeting. It is our annual general meeting, and we're going to be using the poll function of Zoom to do that. So I'm just going to do a test poll. Hopefully it's a fun one and not too painful. So I'm just going to pull it up right now. And if you can just go ahead and answer the question in the poll, there's two, well, you'll see it. So you guys can go ahead and do that now. So if everyone, just to show me that it's working and we're all good. Yep, looks like we're doing well. Chocolate's the winner, like pretty significantly. All right, thanks y'all. Here's the results. Ta-da. All right. Do you want to move on to the next slide, Kelsey?
You bet.
So just before we move into the meeting part, I just wanted to talk about our membership. Obviously, the membership has shifted and evolved since the beginning of Glassworks. And today, Glassworks membership looks like one of two paths. You can become a member annually, so you pay a sliding scale fee, whatever suits your budget for right now, and that renews annually. Or you can become a monthly sustainer, and the membership fee is included in that monthly donation. Both of these are renewed annually, so Glassworks is an annual membership. It's not a one-time thing. And I don't know that larger slides are possible. We can certainly send the slide deck after the meeting if that would be helpful. The membership includes being able to come to the annual general meeting. Of course, everyone is welcome here. We do ask that the folks who are current members are the ones who are voting in the polls. And okay, Kelsey, if you want to do full screen, that's on your end.
Are you not getting full screen there?
I'm getting full screen, but I'm still seeing like the top of your computer.
And so folks that have the slides on one side and the videos on the other, you'll see there's a little double bar in between. You can sort of click on it and slide it over to shrink the videos and make the screen bigger. So that might help with anyone who's having tiny font issues.
Sorry, got lost on my my path talk. So you vote at the annual general meeting as a member. You get project updates. There's going to be some in-person, yay, on-site gatherings coming up. actually on January 1st, which we'll talk more about at the end of this meeting. And there'll be monthly sustainers as an extra special big thank you for folks who are giving to us monthly. We have that. Okay, got lost here.
Sorry. I think there you go.
We'll
You got
pause.
it back?
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right.
What's a Zoom meeting without some tech difficulties, right? Just keeping it there. All right.
All right, you ready?
Okay. Yeah. So we are just going to take a moment to do a land acknowledgement. We have this on our website as well. And if you are not in the Owen Sound area, we can help connect you to where you can find your own land acknowledgement for the geographical location you currently are in. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. Glassworks acknowledges with deep gratitude the territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of the Three Fires known as the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations. We give further thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate. And thank you for being part of the team. We're so excited, not only that it's you and all the dynamism that you bring to the project, but to reach that stage in the project that we have a staff person who can really help, move items forward from one meeting to the next, take all the amazing ideas that come up and bring them into action. So we're so honored to have you here, and so excited that all of you can join us for this momentous occasion tonight. So there's a couple technical pieces related to our AGM, so we will officially call this meeting to order. I just wanted to share our agenda with you tonight. So as we said, there's a few technical pieces around the agenda, the minutes from our last year's meeting, and the auditor coming up for this year's financial review. We'll look at some highlights from our 2020 financial statements that we have to share with you. We'll have a report from the nominations circle and introduce you to 3 amazing new board members that we're so excited to bring on board. I've got some highlights from this year in the context of an annual report. And then we'll put all the technical issues aside and pass the floor over to our 2 amazing special guests tonight, Jonathan Redbird and Derek Ballentine, that we are so excited to share some of the advancements and deepening in our relationships with both of them as Glassworks moves forward. Then we'll make time for some questions and answers to make sure that everybody feels well brought up to speed. And then we'll save the last part of our evening. Depending on how many people are in the call, we'll break up into an appropriate number of breakout rooms so we can have some smaller chats outside of the however many dozen of voices we have on the call here tonight. So if it's okay, I would like to just get approval for our agenda tonight. If we can have a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Kelsey, it's Jan speaking. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you so much. And a seconder?
And that would be, I'm going to second the motion, Kelsey. It's Pat Kelly.
Super. Okay. And for all of our members there, now that you've done your test and we all know how much of a favorite chocolate is for everyone, you should see a poll show up. And for all of the folks that are board members, you can add your vote to approve tonight's agenda. Want to give me a thumbs up, Kate, when we're good? Because I don't actually get to see the poll at my end. So, okay, super. Awesome. And then the other motion that I'd like to just run by quickly is the approval of our 2020 AGM minutes that got sent out to everybody in the context of our presentation from last year's gathering. So if I can have if there's no questions or comments or corrections from last year's agenda, if I could have a motion to approve our minutes from our last year's AGM.
I can do that, Kels.
Wonderful, thank you.
And,
That would
and
be-
this is Sylvia. I'll
Sorry.
second that.
Perfect. So the first was Janet Pawsey. And our seconder was Sylvia. Super. And then everyone should have the poll appear as well. So all members, if you would like to also approve our minutes, and thanks so much for taking a look back at those. I hope that was a nice reminiscence of how far we've come in the last year. And if you want to give me a thumbs up there, Kate, we're good. Awesome. All right. Thank you all so much. And the last little technical piece for this part of our meeting is that so up until 2021, we had less than 50 members and less than $500,000 in assets. So we weren't required to have an auditor for our financial statements. But going forward with all the advancements that we've made, we will. So we've done a bunch of research and found Prentice Yates and Clark CPA, who we will get to do an audit for our 2021 financial statements. They've done a ton of great work for co-ops and land trusts around Ontario. So if I could have a motion to follow up.
This is Sylvia. I'd like to make that motion to approve Prentice Yates and Clark.
This
Awesome.
is Ron. And this is Ron. I'll second that motion.
Amazing. Lastly, just a quick poll for all the membership. And if we're thumbs up, fantastic. Thank you guys for participating. It's kind of quick and easy, right? With the poll system. So thanks so much. I'm just going to pass the floor over now, actually, to Ron Strice, who's a current member of Glassworks, of the board of directors, and also of our finance circle, who is going to present our financial statements for the, and some highlights of our finances for the previous year.
Actually, I think Sylvia is going to do it.
Oh,
Sylvia's
Sylvia?
our
Thank
treasurer.
you.
Yes.
I volunteered to do that. Okay, these are the figures for both years. And the 2020 is what we don't need to have audited. And I've shown the figures for 2021, and those will be audited by Prentice Yates and Clark. So just the highlights there. The land in 2020, we put the deposit of 25,000 on that. And we were very grateful to have member loans of 37,000 to make that deposit happen. And then just carrying through to 2021, we bought the land in February. And so that's 497,000. And again, we needed member loans. And to date, we have 108,000 in member loans and a mortgage payable. The vendor took back a mortgage, and that is paid monthly at $2,000 a month. So the next slide, please. So that's our revenue. Not too much happening in both years. But I'd like to highlight the members' revenue, almost $8,000. That's made up of the membership fees and the sustainers. We're really grateful to the sustainers that give money monthly to, and that really helps to pay down those mortgage payments. And the next slide. Just noting there that we received 150,000 from the Community Housing Transformation Center, and that will fund some planning work and energy consultant, and that helps to pay for Kate, our staff member. But we don't receive that all up front. We received 60,000 in July. And then the next 60,000 will come in June of 22, and the final 30,000 in June of 23.
Did I jump ahead too quick there, Sylvia? Was there anything else?
Yeah, there's just one more thing I'd like to say is we incorporated a second corporation called Gray County Land Stewardship Corporation. And it is incorporated, but we are waiting for paperwork has been sent to Revenue Canada, a Canadian Revenue Agency, to get charitable status so that we can receive donations, hopefully very soon. And we're also working with other nonprofits in the area to that are charities to do a flow through to get donations before we get that registered status from CRA. I think that's all I wanted to say at this point.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Sylvia, and for all the great work of the Finance Committee. And we'll give you some little insights into our commitment to fundraising, both through grants and through investments in the year ahead. And also really excited about the fiscal management roles that our partners are bringing to the table. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But thanks so much for bringing us up to speed on the finances, Sylvia.
Kelsey, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
I apologize, I can't see the chat. So if you want to bring them up.
Okay, so it's how many current members do we have and how many sustainers? And the other question is the 150,000 a grant or a loan?
So the 150,000 is a grant. And yeah, we're super grateful for that. And it is, as you may recall from previous years, our first grant was for $1,000. Our second grant was for $10,000. This one's for 150. So you can see that we're on a trajectory of really greater contributions to the project as it grows. And maybe I'll get Kate to speak to the number of members and sustainers.
We have over 100 sustainers, and members is in the, as of today, I can't give you an exact number, but it's over 150.
So thank you all for being part of really, like, this is the housing that community built, right?
Yeah.
So thank you all for really being part of holding this together and getting us to this stage where we're able to really bring on large scale investment and funding contributions. So I think at this stage, we'll pass the floor over to Jan Chamberlain, our incredible longstanding board member and senior volunteer of the year that we're so honored to have on our board, who helped to head up our nominations circle. So over to you, Jan. Are you unmuted there? Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm not sure if you can see me or not, but that's, can you see me? Okay, doesn't
Yes.
matter.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, thank you. So in September, when we started to do the work at the governance meeting about how we would do the nominations, we had some very good help from Carrie Lee, who helped us get information on how to best go about this. We started doing applications and asking for people to apply. And we went through from the applications, we went through the interviews, and I'm pleased to work on this. Did this as our nomination circle. So I'll start with Kelsey mentioned about the Passion people and the Passion Project. So I'd like to thank the people who are outgoing board members, and we have Jake Lawson, Zoe Thurling, Robert Spencer, Miranda Miller, and Paige Jolly, all of which contributed over the 2 years since the beginning into this project. Thanks, Kelsey. And also we have some people who we consider our advisors, and they've been really guiding us through some very wonderful stuff. Paul's especially helping us with the new a nonprofit or the application going in to the CRA for us to become a charity. And Shirley John was, I think most of us were able to be with her when she was celebrating the land, but she also did a lot of wonderful things for us around that. Christopher Stevens, lots of information because of co-housing, and Jerry Skopek. So I'd like to thank those people who are what we call our visionaries and our helpers. So and then it goes to our board who are staying on the board. And this is the 5 of us. You hear all of us are here tonight with you. You know all about us. But now I have the honor to work with the 3 new applicants that we have chosen to come on our board. I think they're all present, and we're going to ask, I'll introduce Michael first, and because here he is, he's an associate at the Grey Bruce Law. He's the former manager at Saugeen Ojibwe Nation Environment Office. And I'm going to ask you, Michael, to introduce yourself, which is why you're excited about coming on our board.
Hi, everybody. Is my mic working? Somebody give me a nod. All right. So I'm from the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation, obviously a member of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. In my background, in my former career, I was a computer scientist. And I worked for most of the major banks in Toronto writing financial software, and then decided I wanted to do something that was more socially uplifting, something that was going to pay back a little more. And I want to be absolutely sincere about that, because that was a big turning point in my life to leave, a very lucrative profession in writing financial software, dropping the whole thing and going back to school to become a lawyer, which is what I do now. I did come home. I worked in the community, as Jan was noting, with the Environment Office for the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, and I was communications manager for the Chippewas and Nawash for a year. And now that's in good hands as well, and I'm into practice at Mike Forsay Law. I find this to be an exciting project. I'm a maker in my own right. I like to build. I work in software, obviously, but I work in metal, I work in wood, I build buildings, I build vehicles. I like to make. And so for me, this challenge that we have, not just as individuals in a co-op, but as a species, our challenge is to survive on this little ball of mud floating through space. And we have to get that right. And this project is part of that imperative. We have to find a way that balances our existence with everything else that came here before us, but also our own with the people sitting on either side of us, because clearly we haven't gotten it right so far, but we're smart enough, surely, to do it. We're wise enough to do it. If just enough of us sit up and take notice. Now, hopefully we get this done quickly before it's too late, but I'm very excited. I was just talking to my own kids about this this evening, how for a lot of us, a lot of the most dire future scenarios, we won't be around to see, but they will. And so they have pretty significant challenges ahead of them. And I see the Glassworks project as being a step, right? One step of very many steps to come, but a step. And so I think it's exciting to see what we can make here.
Michael, thank you so much. And what a nice entry for you. And now can I ask, is Diane here? I don't see her on my screen yet. Diane, are you here?
I'm here.
Oh, good. There you are. I would like to say to Diane, I've known her for a long time, but in many ways, but she's now the executive director at our Chamber of Commerce, and she got us joined up, and then she said, I'd like to come on to Glassworks. So you could tell us why you'd like to come on to Glassworks, please.
I don't know how I can follow Michael, but yeah. Can I just say ditto? Actually, I am really excited. Jan has been so passionate about Glassworks, and I've met her the last little while, and just listening to her and seeing that it is something that she's really passionate about and what she enjoys doing. She got me enraptured in it as well and thinking, I want to be a part of that. I think it is an important project. I think that, like Michael said, it's just something that we need to do. We need to move forward because there is a need. And I was mentioning it to my husband, who is just listening over here. And I said, it is something that, and it's going to be in our neighborhood. Hope, you know, because we don't live far from there. I think it's really going to help the community, help the Indigenous people. I can't wait to move forward and start working on it. It's exciting. And hopefully that I could add some valuable input to be a part of it. That's what I hope.
Diane, you already have. Thank you very much.
And
Yes.
ditto.
Yes. Now, Tanya, I haven't had the chance to meet you, so I'm meeting you for the first time this evening, but I know both you had a very good interview with Pat and with Kelsey, but would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure thing. Thank you for inviting me here. It's really a pleasure to meet everyone. I've been so curious to meet this crowd of excited and passionate individuals who have taken Glassworks to this point. And I really feel like you guys are embarking on a new chapter, and I'm just really honored to be here in that chapter. So a little bit about me. My thinking and my experience has been shaped by an interdisciplinary path, not always by choice, but maybe by the fates. I began in fine arts, in painting and film production and communications, and I had about a 10-year career working in the film industry in Montreal and Toronto before I transitioned my career to the environmental sector. And I too went back to school and got a master's and a PhD in urban planning, not because I wanted to be an academic, but because I was just really in love with the ideas and the independent lifestyle of someone who could read and learn and write, and just really enjoy that side of life. And during that time, I started to do my own independent consulting for small grassroots organizations. And I started to specialize in strategic sustainability planning with kind of a simmering thread of culture change, and how do we inspire culture change towards greater sustainability within that. And I kind of fell into the whole regenerative design, green buildings movement along the way, and have just kind of kept up with my interest in that in a peripheral way, just from reading magazines and listening to, reading blogs and listening to podcasts and things like that. And so I currently work for Parks Canada up in the Bruce Peninsula in the area of public outreach. And I have my own little organization that I run on the side called Show Your Love, Art by People for the Planet. And I collaborate with other artists, and we do art-based fundraising for different environmental charities dedicated to protecting the natural environment and wilderness areas, basically. And yeah, so I'm just really, really excited to be here. I'm really curious to get to meet everyone and to get to know you all better, and really curious to just kind of dig into this next chapter with everyone and see where we can take it. I guess the thing that most inspires me about Glassworks is the potential to really create a building environment that gives back to people and the planet, to go beyond net zero, but in a net positive kind of design.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thanks
Wow.
for having me.
And what an honor now to have introduced the three of you. And so I now need to make a motion that these three people will be accepted onto our board. And I think we do a vote for that. Well, I'll make the motion. Somebody else will have to second it.
I'll second it.
Okay. And do we have a vote to accept the nominees as presented? I think they're officially on our board. You'll get a green, black, a turquoise background for your next time.
Well, welcome.
Look at that,
Michael.
100%.
Thank you,
Wow.
everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Michael, Diane, Tanya, for jumping into this project with us. We're just so honored for the expertise and energy that you bring in sort of taking a step of this next chapter of the project as it grows and develops towards shovels in the ground. So we're so honored to have you part of the next stage of conversations and planning and decision making. So thank you so much. With that, I think that is the end of our voting and our technical pieces for tonight. I think one little piece that we might have missed in terms of technicalities, if we could get everyone, all of the board members, I think actually everyone present, to just take a quick moment and write your name in the chat. And then we have a record of everyone who attended, because I know sometimes the names that come up on your Zoom account aren't your names. So if you don't mind, everyone just taking a quick moment to write your name in the chat, and then that will be sort of our official attendance keeping for this year's AGM. And so with that, I would like to just give us a little some highlights of this super exciting past year in the context of our annual report. So let me just bring this up for you here. Excellent. Okay, so as you know, Glassworks first started just a little seed of an idea with the Beach Community Energy Cooperative in 2017, having caught their sights on the former PPG site that was for sale at an incredibly affordable price. Obviously, that turned out to be not the right site for the project, but it got the wheels turning and got our community inspired. So we got incorporated in 2018. 2019 was sort of like the year of site selection. We played, looked all over the area, and like surprisingly, in Owen Sound, there's not a lot of available land for housing. We were looking at the Russell Brothers site, at the Black Clawson Kennedy site, and just hadn't quite found the right place. But through that process, managed to coalesce a lot of wonderful people around the thinking and the mission and vision and values for the project, and really sort of coalesced our vision, so that in 2020, when the Bayview School came up for as surplus from the Blue Water School Board, we were actually able to go to the membership and say, hey, I think we should make a bid on this, which we did. And it was incredible, like still in the infancy of our project, to really be able to pull off a bid for that property. Unfortunately, there were loads of people with deep pockets, and the
Sorry,
process.
Kelsey, it's Pat. Could I just stop you for a sec? Did you want to show us slides?
Are you not seeing that?
No, we don't have them.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for stopping me. Sorry, let me just do the screen share again. Sincerest apologies, guys, because a
You look
visual
great,
will
though.
always help
You look
with
great.
that. There you go. How's that? Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. And then, so yes, so 2020 was the Bayview bid. And as you know, we unfortunately weren't successful with that, but what it did was it coalesced the community. It let us know that we had the support, the resources, and the membership support to pull off a land purchase. So that it was sort of like a dry run to really get us organized, get all our ducks in a row, so that we were ready to take action. So that just this past February, when we were able to finally purchase the land that we currently own now as a cooperative on 26th Street, we were successful. So it's such a turning point for the project. And we'll go over a little bit of an overview of this year, of all of the exciting things that have happened, but just knowing that as we forge ahead, we have a sort of new body, being the project steering committee, in partnership with our new partners at Newcomers Development that you'll hear from shortly, that will help guide us through the official plan amendment process, the design and governance growth, and all of the next steps in the project. So this year, you probably heard a little bit about the fate of most co-housing projects. It's a big, long, and convoluted path of bringing membership together and coalescing the vision. And it might seem like a long and winding path, and without having anything built yet, it might seem like we haven't gotten very far. But if you look at where we are in the process on the route to co-housing, we've actually made leaps and bounds. And this is, even though there's a long way to go and much work to go, this is the home stretch of the pre-development process. So we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge how far we have come, even though it might not look like it when the houses don't exist yet. But the purchase of our land this year, you know, people always said that that would be the turning point. And it was obviously a chicken and egg scenario that how do you get people excited about a project without the land? But how do you get the land without people excited about it enough to invest and help purchase it? Well, we got there. And as it said, that only 1 in 100 co-housing visions actually make it this far. So we're so honored for all of your support and believing in this project and your contributions to have realized this. And I just wanted to take one quick moment to acknowledge the house in the corner of the land here, for those of you that haven't had a chance to visit it. Of the 46 acres, the original farmstead, 1 little acre right in the center of the 26th Street stretch, was severed off decades ago and is owned by Larry and Brenda McCartney, who are the best neighbors we ever could have hoped for. That Larry's been helping maintain trails and prune the fruit trees. So in case you're wondering what that house is on the Glassworks land, that's what it is. And I think they're as happy to have us as neighbors compared to anyone else they could have had as we are to have them. So this year started off with our 5-session co-design series that saw over 300 registrants. We delved deep into 5 different topics that really are integral to the Glassworks project, from aging in place to working with affordable, sustainable materials to green energy planning. And so we're just super grateful to all of the experts who contributed to our shared learning over the course of those sessions, really helping sort of bring us all on the same page. We also this year adopted sociocracy as our governance model. So several of our board members did proper sociocracy training, and that this has been embedded in our decision-making at the board level and the committee level. And it's really based upon consent and conversation circles to make sure that everyone's heard and that we come to a consensus where everyone's voice has been heard and honored. So we're really excited about bringing that decision-making structure to the cooperative. We also, in the spring of this year, did a housing survey. We had 60 respondents. Over half of them were already members of Glassworks, and some of them were members of the community that heard about the survey and were excited because of their own need for housing as well. People were interested for lots of different reasons, but over 50% of the respondents said, no, I want to live there. We also had a high number of folks who want to collaborate with Glassworks in different ways besides housing, so including the agricultural component or micro commerce or on a business or partnership level. And the vast majority of folks are excited about being involved in the planning process. So we're really excited about taking those conversations to the next level as we dive into some more community design processes in the year to come. In partnership with some with professionals in the field, with planners and architects. We also this year got our strategic plan written up, which I believe we've shared with all of you in an email. You can also find it on our website. So it gives us a great benchmark with which to measure our progress going forward. So like we said, no longer a pipe dream, but a plan. We had an opportunity to speak at the Canadian Rural and Remote Housing and Homelessness Symposium this year and met with a whole bunch of other amazing folks working on similar projects and really helping to grow our own knowledge and understanding of the issues and our capacity to address them. We got featured in Ramped, which just made us feel so welcome and part of the community as our local cultural paper. And as mentioned in our finance report, we were the lucky recipients of a Community Housing Transformation Center grant this year. The funding comes through CMHC, and Glassworks has already been hosted as a case study on their site. And when they contacted us about the grant, we weren't just lucky to get it. They said in no uncertain terms that they see what we're doing here at Glassworks as a model for affordable housing of the future. So to know that an organization as big and influential as CMHC has a shared vision for this as the model for housing for the future. So we're just so excited to be full steam ahead in realizing it. So as we mentioned earlier, just a little peek at the numbers. We've got almost 300 people subscribing to our newsletter now. I'm afraid I don't know the social media numbers, but it'll be up there too. We've got over 100 members. There's 25 and growing folks who contribute monthly as sustainers, which is supporting almost 50% of the operating costs of maintaining the land. So we're so grateful for that. And always looking for that number to grow. You know, if you want someone to give a non-commercial gift this Christmas, you can definitely direct them to consider becoming a sustainer of Glassworks, because that's what keeps the wheels turning as we move forward to more investment-based approach to the project. As mentioned, we've raised over $100,000 in member loans. So just the hugest thank you to everyone who has trusted in the project enough to contribute financially. And in February is when we pay out the interest on those loans. So that will be forthcoming. And we're bringing in members more and more beyond Owen Sound, folks who are falling in love with Owen Sound. They're attracted by the idea and looking at relocating in no small part because of the Glassworks idea. And so that brings us to this summer, the opportunity we had to meet on the land. We had a land blessing by Shirley John, which was absolutely powerful and really just confirmed that this is the right place for this project, and had dozens of folks over 2 days come and participate and walk the land and get a sense for the vision and dream and plant trees and native species while we were there. We've also started to build our composting toilet. So it's mobile. It's not a construction project yet, so it doesn't count as a build. It's on a little trailer with wheels, and so that will be ready for our next in-person gathering. So we will have facilities. And also this fall, I'm sure I could have found a better segue, but I just wanted to again say a huge thanks to Kate for coming on board. It is such a turning point in the project to have a staff person really just keeping the wheels on this machine. So we're just so excited to be celebrating that with you all tonight. So with that overview of 2021, we wanted to extend an invitation to celebrate the first year of 2022 together on New Year's Day. We're gonna have a gathering on the land. Whether you snowshoe or cross-country ski or have kids or grandkids that would get a kick out of tobogganing, we'll have a fire going and hot chocolate and apple cider, and we'll just be absolutely honored to get to meet you on the land. and to sort of ring in the new year and celebrate in person together. So a proper invitation is most definitely forthcoming, but we wanted to just get you to mark your calendars while we're here together tonight. So looking ahead into 2022, a couple things on our radar and on the horizon and on our to-do lists. We will resume regular member meetings, which we've been meaning to do for so long, but just haven't had the capacity until Kate has come on board. And so you'll all have the opportunity to help shape what those look like. Some in person, some online, to engage folks both locally and from outside of Owen Sound. We'll get various members of the membership to be part of our community outreach to really help grow support for the project, both politically and just broader within the local community. We'll be bringing on board our some planning and design professionals and be really deeply engaging the membership in those design and site planning charrettes. And of course, meeting on the land at every possible opportunity, work bees and design sessions. We'll also be making broad leaps in our funding opportunities in terms of grant writing, as well as fundraising, and reaching beyond our membership to bring in investment in from the broader community as well. So as we said, we've really grown the capacity of our existing committees or circles this year. And we intend next year to bring on 2 new circles, including one dedicated to membership needs and really starting to think about what it will mean and look like to be a resident member of Glassworks, and also a revenue development and fundraising circle. As Sylvia mentioned, we are working on our charitable status. So that will contribute greatly to our fundraising capacity, being able to write charitable tax receipts for folks wanting to contribute. And we'll be diving into a full-on feasibility study in partnership with Newcomers Development, and to really nail down community needs and make sure that those are reflected in the design for the project. And then the project steering committee is the body that will include folks both from Newcomers and the Glassworks committee, as well as Jonathan Redbird, who we're hoping to introduce you to momentarily. And we will continue to grow effective partnerships to really help take this project to the next level. So we're super excited about everything that's been accomplished this year and everything that is on the horizon for 2022. And with that in mind, I think I'm ready to pass the mic. And I think I'd like to adjourn the official part of the meeting and introduce you to our guest speakers this evening. So thank you all for bearing with the technical parts of our AGM tonight. We appreciate you being part of it. And I see, forgive me for doing just a call out. Jonathan, are you on the call under another name and I'm not seeing you? You are, wonderful.
Yeah,
okay,
here.
Thank you. So maybe I'll just share my screen for one more quick second and give a proper introduction to Jonathan. So thank you so much for being here.
Good. Thank you.
And I apologize that for whatever reason that screen is not advancing. So let's do away with it. And I'll just pin your screen and introduce you in person.
Jump right in.
Yeah. So Jonathan, we've had the honor of getting to know over the last several months. He's acting president of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation Financial Corporation and is the grandson of poet, activist, and journalist Duke Redbird. And together they've co-founded this beautiful vision for One Dish, One Spoon. And I will pass it over to you, Jonathan, to tell us all about it.
Great. Winnie Bojo Giwedanong, Indijnakas, Wabiji, Indidodam, Sagin, Ndontraba. Greetings, all my relations. My spirit name is North Wind, and my given name is Jonathan. I'm a Martin Clan person, and I'm from Sagin First Nation with ancestry from Wakumakong. Today, I'm joining you all as I've been in discussions with the team at Glassworks about a vision that my grandfather, Duke Redbird, shared with me. A vision for communities of the future, which would be based on Indigenous values, pedagogies, and principles. This vision is not a new vision, but rather a very old one, with over thousands of years of proven success. It is a community of people who understand that we are all one people, and we have a duty, a responsibility to be stewards of our one earth. My grandfather called this vision one dish, one spoon. I grew up in not-for-profit housing complex in the GTA, affordable housing. It was a community that was riddled with poverty, substance abuse, trauma, crime, and curious children. As a young boy, I asked myself, why do we live like this? When there were people a few blocks down that were living in mansions with multiple exotic cars in their driveway. As a young boy, people told me the answer was money. So I decided to dedicate my learning to money. Over the next decade, I attended every workshop, seminar, joined every club, and read every book that I could find about money. I became the youngest financial advisor for a large investment firm and continued my career within finance and investments until I achieved the status of accredited investor. I finally made it. But what I really learned was that the system was broken, that this crazy world of money was actually just a big Ponzi scheme, where a few were making fortunes from the many. I went back to my grandfather and said, I've become successful in this world and did what I set out to do many moons ago. However, I do not like this world. This is when my grandfather started to teach me about one dish, one spoon. It is a society where there was no jails, hierarchy, institutions of power, no banks, interest, and no money. It was a world where people lived in kinship and naturally supported and gave to each other, living in abundance. It was a world where we focused on food, laughter, romance, and joy, where people spent over 90% of their time outdoors rather than indoors. It was a community that cared for all their fellow peoples, and that the peoples worked together to steward the land and reap the abundance, the bounty. I quickly realized that this is the world that I want my daughters to grow up in. And I started to work on the one dish, one spoon master plan. How we can bring that society into the present and continue it into the future. My grandfather and I put together plans to have food and education as the foundation to the community. We planned out how the homes would look and feel, how they would be placed in this community in relation to other homes in the community. We brought in the greatest technology advancements in clean energy and waste recycling, and we developed frameworks for governance and conflict management, as well as frameworks to support the greater good of the community. We have spent countless hours together bringing the one dish, one spoon back to life. However, we were missing the land and the people to do it. This is when I met Kelsey and started to learn about her mission with Glassworks. I started to hear about the vision and the mission and was so grateful to find people who were thinking the same thoughts and were inspired to create a community for the greater good. After many great discussions with Kelsey, Kelsey believed that there could be great value in bringing the vision of One Dish, One Spoon to Glassworks to co-create a collective vision for the future. So I am pleased to announce that I'll be joining Glassworks monthly steering committee meetings to support at a high level the vision of this project. I hope that we can co-create the most beautiful place to live and inspire the future generation of children. I told Kelsey that this is the good work, and I'm happy to support steering the vision with many other great leaders and volunteers supporting this incredible project. Chimigwich for your time tonight. Until next time, Wamapi.
Miigwech, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for the opportunity for all of our membership to really just hear it straight from you. I'm so honored to have met you and just how much the vision for One Dish, One Spoon and Glassworks align, and we're so excited about the guidance that you'll bring to the project going forward.
Chimigwich. I look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you, Jonathan. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to one more incredible person who is really going to play a key role in the next chapter of Glassworks. And this is Derek Ballentine, who is a managing partner at Newcomers Development, whose work is focused on partnering with nonprofit housing projects to invest in the vision and to bring them to fruition with fiscal responsibility and project management expertise. And we're so excited and honored to have crossed paths with Derek and for Newcomers to see the value in moving the Glassworks project forward. So if I can pass the mic over to you, Derek.
Sure. Kelsey, thanks very much. I don't know that I'm any more exceptional than anybody else, but I've had incredible privilege and good fortune in my life. And part of the work that I do is about leveraging that for a better purpose. So, and this is obviously one of those opportunities which we greatly look forward to. I am speaking to you from Toronto, which are the traditional territories of a number of First Nations. Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat nations, and obviously still home to a large number of Indigenous persons, although we don't tend to think about Toronto and the sort of urbanized areas of this province as Indigenous traditional territories, and we forget the rich history and do not honor very significantly the ability to live and work on these lands. And I want to recognize that, and also recognize the tremendous amount of work we have ahead of us in the context of reconciliation in this nation. And I think in some ways, Glassworks, and one of the attractions that we've had to the project of Glassworks is coming back and being able to, I think, as John said, to reattach ourselves to a vision which is not the typical vision of how we might go forward in developing community. I'm always cautious about moments like this and what we might want to speak about, but I thought what I'd do is just spend a bit of time introducing a little bit who Newcomers Development is, since we plan on being close and aligned partners for a period of time. And you'll forgive me that I might want to share a screen with you just to be able to assist me in being efficient in the way in which I deliver this, because I don't have the eloquence or the strength of speech that John has demonstrated in being able to crystallize a conversation as quickly. Kelsey mentioned we are a nonprofit development company. Newcomers Development is, in fact, has been around for now six and a half years as a nonprofit development company. We were born out of a couple of kind of confluencing or combining realizations. And one was that there was no real resource available to community that would assist in the development of community-driven and community-owned real estate, whether it's nonprofit or whether it's cooperative or whether it's sort of held in other forms of trusted relationship. And we saw the opportunity, in part because of a couple of us have had a long sort of history and association with the creation of affordable housing and the desire to sort of try and figure out how to use capital in ways which are of greater benefit to community than has traditionally been the case. We're now managing somewhere the development of about 1,500 units, and we have a pipeline of about another 1,000 units. We have an office in Toronto and an office in Vancouver, and we work. A large part of our work is centered in those places, but we are also working on the east coast of Canada and on in sort of the Sunshine Coast in BC. We have been approached to do some additional work in New Brunswick, and we're working with a group to try and build capacity. And we're also have a couple of sort of projects in the initial stages in the Yukon, working with Indigenous communities. And our thesis has always been about bringing expertise and execution, but leaving behind capacity and building strength in the partners that we work with. And the work that we've undertaken is very much the sort of thesis we have is always about building partnerships and working collaboratively. And I think, we were asked by the board when we were interviewed about whether or not, how we might provide some services and how we might collaborate. What is it that attracts us to the Glassworks project? And I think in many respects, it's the strength of the partnership and the potential of that partnerships that doesn't always exist. We find a lot of projects that are incredible high value. They're worthy in and of themselves, but they don't always bring the strength of a partner to them. And we find this is one of those rare occasions where we really see a tangible difference in who we're interested in, and sort of the focus on outcome and the focus on a vision and realizing that vision. I think those are sort of probably some of the biggest drivers. I also did confess to the board that I have a sort of a personal attachment to the lands in that part of the province, having lived in Bruce County and Saugeen, what was then Saugeen Township, for a number of years, and recognizing sort of the interest and an opportunity to go back and return to that place. When we take on partnerships and we work in those partnerships, we really sort of, we work very much about the realization of a project. So in a sense, we are a tool to other person's design. And we bring the capacity and the execution around trying to obviously clearly, working on the project feasibility. And there's some unique aspects to the Glassworks initiative, which don't always exist in projects. I mean, this is a large piece of land. It has the opportunity for a significant amount of, realizing a really more complex and more engaging vision. But with that, I think comes the complexity of project and the need to really think through what are the financial models that will be able to sustain this? How will these pieces be delivered? And obviously dealing with planning permissions and authorities at a scale which is not always typical for these kinds of initiatives. We take projects from front to back. So we are working in another project, which is a significant tract of land in the eastern part of Toronto, where we have worked with a partner to really sort of help formulate the vision, to work through planning permissions. In their case, they had a particular vision that required additional capital and a different kind of partner. So we also went out and sought a private development partner to be able to combine their forces and their capital with their own and create their vision. And we then help manage right through construction to delivery of the end project. And so our commitments to these initiatives are long-term commitments, and we're not displeased with that. We like the idea of being attached and connected for long periods of time. And so we have to the board submitted a proposal, which a next step for us is to work, I think for me, through the next 3 or 4 days and turn that proposal into a contract for services, which we will hopefully sort of conclude our back and forth period and settle on a reasonable agreement of how we're going to proceed in the initial phases of this project. And we would like to start early in the new year. So it gives you a little bit about sort of how we see this. I want to finish by trying to explain a little bit, because this is always the most complicated part of any of this story and this narrative, is that Newcomers Development is actually part of a bigger vision or a bigger initiative. An initiative that started in 2012, in which I sort of early on became affiliated with and then became a sort of a true partner. And that is Newmarket Funds, which was the creation of an entity that could work in the conventional norms of raising and deploying capital, but trying to do that in a way which was framed and driven by values, and the values of community, the values of positive impact for individuals and communities. And we were fortunate to, in realizing this vision, to find 6 foundations who wanted to sponsor this, because they really saw the idea that there was an ability to find new ways for capital to be deployed for good, if you want, and for social impact and social benefit, as opposed to pure profit. And in our journey, which is now about 9 years old as Newmarket Funds, we've come to manage 4 different entities. One is a fund which invests in and supports cooperatives. We did not create that fund, but we were brought in to manage the fund, and it was a vision from the cooperative sector that was created. And it's a modest fund, but which is starting to have impact for small and medium cooperatives in terms of finding growth. And interestingly, we've financed through that fund the early development stages of now 5 different cooperative, affordable cooperative housing projects. Community Forward Fund is probably the longest standing fund. It was a fund that pre-existed Newmarket Funds, but was brought onto the platform. It's been around for 10 years. And it lends and it provides access to capital for nonprofits and charities, sort of an unbanked, unsupported sector. We've moved, I think, through the fund now about $30 million. We've done about 40 transactions. We have lent across Canada and every part. I think we're the only province we have not lent in directly is Manitoba, and Nunavut. And we have done a really broad range, including lending in and catalyzing, which has really been interesting for us on 2 occasions, working with Aboriginal financial institutions, so economic development entities that are Indigenous led, and we were simply providing capital into their activities and in support of their being able to source more capital to be able to deliver on their mission. Newmarket Funds is an equity fund that invests in affordable housing. So we exclusively invest in permanently in affordable housing. And I'll spare you the complication of it. We raised an initial fund of 25 million. We're now raising a second fund of 50 million. And that fund will not only invest with nonprofits building new housing, but will be designed to acquire additional housing and hold it in either by third-party, nonprofit, or cooperative organizations, or we will hold it directly in a trust for permanent affordability. And then finally, Newcomers Development, which really came about because we realized in the lending we were doing, in the Newmarket Funds Rental Housing Fund work we were doing, and in Among the investors, we now have about 70 investors attracted to our platform, they really saw the need for a capacity in the sort of community-driven sector for development and execution of real estate projects. And that's where we sort of saw our ability, our expertise, and we were able to raise some capital to launch new market funds. We work in a number of different ways in Newcommons, but in any project that we take on, at some point, we put some of our own resources and our own time and our own energies at risk on betting on the success of the projects that we undertake. And so for us, Glassworks, as I said, is sort of a really interesting project. We find it as a really well aligned project for the values that we carry. We're really interested and engaged, and it is also going to cause us to stretch and think differently and work to kind of an interesting and more complicated framework. And I think we kind of derive energy from that, and are really interested in that challenge and interesting in the sort of, when I say the really deep collaborative sort of concept that you have around the process and the results in the outcomes for this community. So happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening, and really looking forward to the ongoing collaboration we have.
Amazing, Derek. Thank you so much. I know what you bring to the table is so valuable and also so complex, and thanks for presenting it to the membership in such a digestible manner. And we're just so excited about the next steps of collaboration here. So thank you so much, to both of our guest speakers. And at this point, what we'd like to do for the rest of our evening together is we'll open the floor to questions. You can type them into the chat, or you can raise a hand and unmute yourself and ask it directly. We still have Derek and John on the line, or any of myself or the board members. Because I know it's not every day that we get to gather all together with the membership and the board and such inspiring partners. So by all means, do put questions in the chat, or I'm going to just make sure I can see everybody here. So if you raise your hand, there's in the bottom bar where your mute and video buttons are, there's a reactions button, and you can raise a hand there to let us know that you'd like the floor. And we certainly
we have a question here. Has the board purchased insurance?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Good question. Do you want to answer, Sylvia?
Yes. Yes, we have directors and officers insurance.
Kelsey, it's Pat. Can I just make a comment? I think I just want to acknowledge I've heard Jonathan speak before, and Derek both, and I have to thank both of them, first of all, for Jonathan really lifting up our spirits, I think, to get us to see the alignment in the values that we are espousing for the vision of Glassworks, and how those complement what is needed in our community and what we hear often from Indigenous people. And I think for a lot of us to have a very concrete action to move forward on real reconciliation that's meaningful for us in our housing, in our choices, in our community. So I thank him for that. And to Derek, I think when we reconnected with Newcomers, it was at a time when Glassworks, as the board and as a community, we had purchased the land, and obviously that's a major step. But the bigger step is it's not zoned for housing. We don't have a plan. We don't know what we're going to need in terms of our engineering and energy infrastructure. So Newcomers appeared at a time which was exactly right, I think, in the developmental phase for Glassworks. So I want our members, I hope that what you've heard tonight gives assurance that where we were a year ago in the first, and I wasn't even a member of Glassworks at that time, but since Glassworks started and the passion pioneers who put it together, we're now in that phase of being landowners, but it's not enough to own the land. The land has to become a home and a place for work, for life, for community. And I'm really grateful to what New Commons is bringing to us as a small nonprofit. And we really are really excited about what the next 6 months is going to mean. And there's going to be lots of opportunities for Glassworks members to be involved in raising awareness in our community about what co-ops are, what is co-housing, what is cooperative housing, what's the value to our community, and build confidence that we have the right leadership and management and project management expertise to really manifest this to construction phase. So I just wanted to thank you both for your presentations.
And if it's okay, Jonathan, if I give a shout out to one of your two brand new twins.
Yeah, this is Rain. Rain and Summer. We just recently had twins.
You have 4 girls.
I have 4 girls. Yeah, it's all about the future now.
Oh, she is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So I hope we can see them on New Year's.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for bringing her to the membership to see. What an inspiration. What a beauty. There were some questions in the chat around the approvals process, which as Pat did bring up, will be a process of going through not only rezoning but an official plan amendment in order to move ahead on the housing component of the project. But Derek, did you want to speak a little bit to to what that process might look like, and if there's anything that we as the membership and the workhorses of Glassworks can do to help support and expedite that process?
There no doubt will be. Ultimately, amendments to the official plan and rezoning are political acts. So a council will have to make a decision, and what pressures and what influence one can bring to bear on that council will always be important. So I don't want to underestimate that. And there will be a need to sort of think about strategically how to create that and how to orchestrate that in some respects. I think in terms of the process, at one level it's quite simple. One makes an application and one asks for a particular set of permissions, a particular set of opportunities. The process for getting there is complex. It is, if we were dealing with a single parcel of land that was not particularly large, it would be somewhat more straightforward. It is complex because this is a large parcel, and we are going to have to navigate in a way that does not require us to incur large amount of cost in making the land development ready before we're ready to develop that land, if I can say that. So, and because it's a large parcel, there are larger scale issues at play. If we had demolished a house in down, central Owen Sound, and we were rebuilding that house, there would be no problem because there are sewers on the street, there's water available at the lot line. There's not a very complicated set of things. There's electricity nearby, and there's all those things. When we're dealing with a large site, we have to provide the municipality with some assurance that there is a strategy and plan for doing all of those things, but we don't actually want to incur that cost. And so part of the complexity is to navigate that process, but get through the approvals in a way which allows us to then start to realize the progressive vision of what happens on that site. And I say progressive because I hope nobody's expecting that it would all be transformed in one fell swoop and the vision would suddenly sort of crystallize in one immediate step. I think this is always going to be a multi-phase, a time-driven kind of vision. And obviously we have to sort of figure out how to navigate so that that's possible with that and within the means that we have. So not, you know, I realize I'm not giving you a lot of specifics, but I think, you know, that means we got to figure out the degree to which we have to do the engineering, servicing and other studies, the environmental assessment pieces and so on, but not be cornered into needing to satisfy all of the municipal requirements immediately. So that's sort of where the complexity lies for us.
And I think I just wanted to add, Derek, for everyone's benefit, the timeline that we have for the initial stage of the project with you takes us to, I think, the 1st of June.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be a bit farther out than that, but somewhere in that neighborhood.
Somewhere around that. And I think we're all aware that we have municipal elections coming in Ontario at the end of this end of 2022, so in November. So there will be opportunities, not immediately, because I think we want to be really clear on what our messaging is to the community and to City Council about how Glassworks helps to increase housing, the housing stock and affordability. So I think we have this year we're in a good time, I think, time frame for moving our messaging forward during the pre-election phase.
Yeah, I would just mention there's one other election that happens before the municipal election, which may have some bearing on success, and you might want to think about that as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys. I'm not seeing any other big questions popping up in the chat, which makes me think that it might be the right moment to switch to something that we don't get to do very often. Instead of learning, absorbing, being talked to switch into some smaller breakout rooms and get to hang out like a membership of all of these amazing folks. Hang on, I see one waving a hand, Graham Jordan. Of another question before we break out into smaller, more informal conversations.
I have a question at the bottom of the page that I've asked before and they've yet to hear any response to. Maybe Derek can speak to that.
About the servicing. So you mentioned that briefly in the context of the site plan. But yeah. Oh, I think you're muted there, Derek, but I can say just preliminarily, there is servicing on the 23rd Street, the south end of the property, as well as on the west edge of the property, which is envisioned as the future 18th Street. So we're not incredibly distanced from existing servicing, but I can let Derek speak to sort of what that looks like as a process.
Yeah, well, I mean, the answer is we don't know at this stage, because that's exactly what we have to sort through over the next period of time. You know, there are adjacent services, so this is not, you know, sort of one of the most difficult greenfield sites, but clearly there is going to have to be a strategy, and there's particular strategy around, you know, what I'll call the parceling of the site, and how do we, you know, think about the site in manageable components, and then how does the servicing plan work in relation to those components, and how do we develop that strategy? And that's the work that's sort of ahead of us for now.
So maybe one last question, and then we'll jump into the breakout rooms for a little bit more informal conversation. But there was a question about how to best tackle the provincial election in the context of moving projects like Glassworks forward.
Well, I mean, I certainly don't ever want to be publicly quoted about this, given I have another role in my life, which would always get me into trouble. But, you know, provincial elections are always moments where, and elections generally are moments where it is somewhat easier to extract commitments around certain government expenditure and some government policy. And this is a provincial government that has not been that active on the affordable housing file, and you know, had a significant amount of constructive created constructive opportunity. But you know, elections are such, and this government just announced a sort of a blue ribbon panel to look at the issues of housing affordability, and ultimately, all issues are local issues for elections because, members of parliament members of the legislature have to be elected locally. So I just think it's never good. One should never forget that there's an opportunity to push for some policies that might be of assistance.
And
Thank
then
you, Derek.
panel is primarily real estate, people with expertise in real estate and development. I didn't see a lot of nonprofits there.
Yeah, there's the executive director for Habitat for Humanity for the Greater Toronto region. I think there's one other person that sort of comes out of the sector. You're right, it's not necessarily stacked that way, but it doesn't mean they can't receive a message.
So thank you. We have been incredibly timely tonight. I know how much time everybody spends in front of the computer these days. So I think we'd like to wrap up the formal part of the evening, but then switch into an opportunity that we don't get to have as a membership very often, partially because of COVID, partially because we live in different places. What we're going to do is Kate is going to switch us over into there's almost 50 of us on the call here, into 4 breakout rooms. So there'll be, more conversational size groups of us. Glassworks board members you'll recognize with the Glassworks background. So if by fluke there's nobody in